Chapter 16. Dove blinked. "What's going on?" Ruby flung open the greenhouse door and pushed herself into the warm night air. She saw Bess racing through the chicken yard, panicked. Ruby's heart began a hard thump in her chest. She couldn't see Beamy anywhere. She tore back into the greenhouse. "Throw me a rag from the bucket, Dove." Now Ruby's heart raced. "Hurry, hurry." Dove was on her feet. "What for?" "I'll throw it over Bess's eyes so I can catch her. Hurry." Dove lunged for the bucket, kicked it, and wedging it between bales of straw. Thunk. Something heavy hit the ground beside the door where Ruby was waiting. Bess screamed. Ruby focused on her eyes in the moonlight. Now she saw them. Rocks littered the yard. Ruby kept the chicken yard clean and the dirt smooth. Someone was throwing rocks. Ruby couldn't breathe. She held the greenhouse door open with her foot and stretched her arms out. "Hurry, Dove." Dove threw a handful of rags at Ruby, and Ruby grabbed them and stumbled. Thunk again, another rock, and snap again. Desperately, Ruby scrambled to her feet, bringing the rags with her, and she reached for the door, but before she could get back outside, a shattering sound deafened her. Her hands flew to her ears, and she screamed. Dove screamed. The girls ducked, covering their heads as the greenhouse window fell into a million crumbling pieces, and glass showered them. The lantern fell and went out. "Ruby?" Dove was under the counter, but Ruby was near the door. She laid still in a ball on her quilt. Moonlight streamed through the windows and raced on her back. "Ruby?" Dove screamed. Slowly, Ruby lifted her head and took a breath. She was alive. "Are you okay?" Ruby nodded and spit. Glass was all around her, maybe even her mouth, but she was okay. Dove was okay. Ivy was. Ruby couldn't see the nest. "Where's Ivy?" Dove jumped to her feet. "The nest is turned over. I don't see her." Ruby panicked. She crawled under the counter, ignoring the glass as it scraped at her. Bess had slammed the greenhouse door shut, trying to get inside, and now she scrabbled against it, squawking to get in. Ruby didn't hear her, and she called for Ivy. "Where are you, Ivy?" Dread washed over her. "Where's the lantern, Dove? Do you have the flashlight?" Ruby stretched out her hands and felt gingerly around the greenhouse floor in the shadowed darkness. Her right hand touched feathers, and a frightened chicken pecked at her hand. "Ivy! Ouch! Here she is!" Ruby's hand closed around the flashlight. She switched it on and played it over the floor of the greenhouse. There was Ivy next to a bag of peat moss, sitting quietly on a pile of straw that had fallen out of the overturned peach basket. Besides Ivy was a large rock with a note attached by a rubber band. "Oh my gosh, Ivy, oh my gosh. Here's an egg." Dove sounded triumphant and then suddenly defeated. "It's broken to pieces," her voice full of cracks. "Here, another. Oh no." Her voice trailed off. Ruby didn't hear her. "She doesn't want me to touch her. I don't know if she's hurt. I can only find 2 eggs. Let me have the flashlight, Ruby." Dove took the flashlight from Ruby. "Here, help me look. We've got to find the other egg. These 2 are—" Ruby rallied. "What? They're what?" "Broken. Just broken. Broken to bits." "Let me see," ordered Ruby. Her voice curled in her throat. Dove played the flashlight in the eggs she had found. They lay cracked open with warm, wet chicks inside. No movement or sound from them. They had dropped too far and cracked open too soon for the chicks to survive on their own. Ruby was numb. She stared at her chicks. They were here, peeping and pecking, and now they're not. "No," she whispered. She didn't hear anything. No peeping, no pecking, no. She shouted. She sprang to her feet and barreled out the door. She looked for her chickens and saw bobbing lights and shadows, dressed in bathrobes, hurrying towards the pink palace. Bess was roosting and looking unhurt. Ruby couldn't think. She walked back inside and lowered herself onto a straw bale, using her hands to balance. Her voice crumbled. "I don't know where Beamy is. People are coming and I don't want them here." "We need help, Ruby. Look at us." By the moonlight, Ruby could see that her hands were bleeding. Dove had a long scratch on her forehead, and the broken eggs lay still, their almost born chicks inside. Ruby touched them tenderly. A lump started in her throat, hard and huge. She felt the sting of tears as her eyes. "Ivy's sitting on the 3rd egg, Ruby. It's still peeping." In silence, Ruby could hear a faint peeping coming from under Ivy. Ivy clucked back. She would not move from her egg. Ruby heard her mother's voice, full of concern, and Miss Mattie in charge. One tear spilled down Ruby's cheek. She gritted her teeth and willed it away. She picked up the rock that had come through the glass, removed the rubber band, and opened the note. It said, "I hate you, Ruby Lavender, and I hate your stupid chickens." It wasn't signed. It didn't need signing. Ruby knew she had done this. Ruby knew who had done this. Everyone would know. Ruby crumbled the note and waited for the door of the greenhouse to open.